Godon said, CEO Berlusconi Record, Yolio Susu Bishop Worldwide, the African Black Sweet Cappuccino, the Aramata one of Udu Kingdom, Udu Naganaga one of Ugiaman Kingdom, the Bishop of the Susu Ministry worldwide. Myself and individually, personally and collectively would like to say to you, keep watching ITV International Nigeria. Hallelujah.
Certainly the best.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to Africa Discourse. I am Wilson of Marshall. Today, it's all about the life and times of former Ghanaian president. Yes, you can call him JJ, not a culture now. JJ Rawlings, Jerry John Rawlings. Yeah, he kicked the bucket when it got to the age of 73. Ailment, complication of COVID-19 and all that. But this man, 20 years of his life was, giving fully to Ghana. So to Ghana, begging your pardon. Though beyond 20 years of his life, he's been there taking a look at history, looking at what Ghana should do to become strong in Africa. And of course, he did what so many people may term unthinkable. But that yielded results to the extent that you just can't mention Jerry Rawlings' name in Ghana without anyone not knowing or remembering what this great man has done. Before I introduce my guest, I want you to watch this video courtesy CCTV on the life and times of Jerry Rawlings, after which we return and we're deliberating on this great man. Though he's late now, his legacies lives on. Happy to it.
When we saw him, we started screaming, JJ, JJ.
That a coup will not succeed if the atmosphere, the climate is not calling for it.
He told Ghanaians, I have hard work for you.
Christianize me if you may, but don't try to Europeanize me.
In June 1979, Ghana was at a crossroad. Another military coup was at hand. A young Air Force pilot who a few weeks before had been court-martialed and was awaiting execution was broken out of jail by his colleagues to lead what would be later known as the June 4th Revolution. Little was known of this man who would later be instrumental in changing the future of Ghana forever. His name, Jerry Rawlings. Jerry Rawlings was born in Accra, Ghana, on the 22nd of June 1947 to his mother Victoria Abok-Chui and his Scottish father James Ramsey. He attended Ghana's prestigious Achimota School. An elite school at the time, Achimota was founded on the principle of providing African students with the British model of a public education. The school boasts of an impressive alumni, with Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, Gambia's Sadawada Jawara, and Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe, all being former students at different times in the school's history.
I must say that it probably was one of the finest times of my life. You know, it's model school. It's a place to be proud of.
I noticed him, yes, because he was very visible and bullied us even though we were in the same class. Not in a very bad way, but you know, bullying is bullying. And so you can't help but notice him. But I never thought that we'll come this far.
By collective effort, that the nation's problems can be solved.
Before his fame as a revolutionary, Jerry Rawlings was unknown to most of Ghana. In March 1968, he began his training as a pilot officer.
I wanted to fly from the age of 6, honest. I was standing next to my mother, you know, in a compound house when the young men also in the house, you know, asked me what I'd like to be when I grew up. And I said, I'd like to be a pilot. And bang, my mother slapped me on the back. Oh, yes, yes. You'll be a doctor. You'll be a scientist. I mean, the whole house, the compound became quiet, shocked at what had just happened. I never gave up my dream.
He graduated in January 1969 and was commissioned a pilot officer. And because of his exceptional skill, he won the coveted Speedbird Trophy.
The Speedbird Trophy went to Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings for being the best Air Force cadet of the flying training school.
I won the Speedbird Trophy. In those days, we didn't have televisions. You know, we had what they call the newsreels in.
And that is the man we really want to take a look at today, his life, and of course, the time as Jerry Rawlings, former president of Ghana. Though late, his legacy is still very much intact. With me here in the studio to talk about this, I have a clergyman, a political analyst, join me to welcome Reverend Humphrey Arega. Reverend, welcome to Africa Discourse.
My pleasure. Good afternoon, everyone.
Appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
You get to hear of a politician, an astute politician, once a journalist, always a journalist. I'm talking about the Scout organization, right? He is the top, even one-time youth president, yes, in this great country. Join me, welcome, Honorable Agarse Idubo. Welcome to Africa Discourse, sir.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
All right. When we talk about the law interpretation, talking about purpose and you know, restriction and non-restriction, ex parte motion. You know what I'm talking about? The law jargons. Oh, sorry. Yeah, learned colleague, learned gentlemen. Political analyst also. Let me to welcome Barrister Henry Walls. Barrister, welcome to Africa Discourse.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers at home.
All right. And it's a pleasure to let you know that we're back to our one program for the afternoon belt, okay? Because right now our children, I think they are believing, I know that they are back to school learning. Now, I haven't said that. I want to start off from you, Reverend. You saw the video. He came, he saw, and he conquered. What made this man to be so exceptional that Ghana, West Africa, Africa as a continent, even the world, just can't stop talking about Rawlings?
Well, it is often said that the way a child presents his results is the way they is carried. I believe that having listened and read about Rawlings during his reign in Ghana, and through this period as an ordinary Ghanaian, he has lived with the principles and ideas that he has created for himself. He believed in the people. He believed that he has that responsibility of making the people happy, you know, and right from his inception of the first coup that brought into limelight and other things, we find that he has not deviated from that principles. And also, looking at the life he lived, for someone living in the African continent where leaders perpetuate themselves in perpetuity, believing that the country becomes their product and their empire. This is a man who has lived a simple life. Even while he was in government, I saw some of the clips some time ago, I was watching my video, he joined the people in sanitizing the society, not just in politics, but in ordinary work. He joined them to clear drains, he joined them to a lot of things. He brought himself to, he didn't see himself as a lord. He saw himself as a part of a system, but just an exceptional individual who will help to galvanize that. And he did, you know. And not too long ago, I was listening to one of the interviews he gave when he had, I think it was the one that has a problem. Yeah. He didn't have, till today, he doesn't have a foreign bank account. He couldn't get resources to do, he has to be asking for friends' help. This is a former head of state for a span of some 20 years. So, unlike other countries, where presidents built mansions, he didn't have a house outside of Ghana. You know, and that shows to you, look at even his background. He's a Scottish person. So one would have expected sometimes, it's okay, you go and build some mansions in Scotland.
We'll come into that. We'll come into that.
So I'm saying that he brought himself to the position that people begin to look at him. Not people who are in power, no, but ordinary persons seeing themselves in him. Okay. And that makes it very difficult for anybody to erase.
All right. That makes it very difficult for anyone to erase. Now, he raised the point I really want us to dive into. His father is Scottish, mother from Ghana, but still he was accepted wholeheartedly in Ghana to the extent that he was made the president of Ghana. Honorable, what do you feel about that? Because in some climes, it's difficult for someone like Rawlings, who is of Scottish origin, so to speak, to even hold, or let's say head a better position in some parts in Africa. What made this young man, though he's living now, unique? Any acceptance in Ghana?
Rawlings was a Ghanaian. He was born in Ghana. His parents lived 15 years before they had him in Ghana. So everything about Rawlings is Ghana. Yes, he had the other kind of blood, but the Ghanaian blood was 90%. But let me quickly react to what you said. By in some climes they wouldn't allow him to become head of state, or even in Nigeria. There is a man called, okay, let me not mention his name now. Okay, let me say a man called Idubo that was born in Warri. No, Warri is proper now. Yeah. He was born in Warri. He wanted to contest the election as chairman of the local government in Warri. They now reminded him that your name is Idubo. Rawlings is not a Ghanaian name. Yeah. They reminded the man that, my friend, he was born there.
Lived all his life.
There, had his children, 5 children there. They now reminded him, your name is Idubo. You don't have an Urobo name. So you cannot become chairman of our local government. The man had lived there for over 50 years. He now realized that he now came to Benin. He had a house in Benin, or this one. He had a house in Benin, but he died. Because he couldn't, you know, imagine that having lived here for 50 years,
with same people,
I can't contest election. I mean, Rawlings, the people were, they expressed some degree of maturity, because as a flight lieutenant, they saw in him that the guy was doing well. One of those things he did as a flight lieutenant, he tried to establish in the administration of the military that he was going to stand out, and he stood out. So they saw that quality in him, and every time, like the very first coup he staged, they would have killed him.
Exactly.
They would have killed him. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that him, you know, he escaped not because he was an expert in the game, but someone protected him. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I mean, they saw in him something. So for me, the Ghanaians show some, let me say this, like my brother said, Rawlings, until he died, was popular in Ghana. The kind of things that Rawlings did in Ghana, if lesser mortals did such things, they would have killed them.
Exactly.
But until Rawlings died, because I encountered him twice in Ghana. Yeah.
Rawlings, there was an event. Maybe I will not mention the event now, but the head of state came, Akufo. Then Rawlings came later. If you saw the ovation, the way people accepted him, showed support for him. So for me, the guy, everybody believed. Otherwise, there's no way he will have come as a military officer, become head of state, and win again.
Okay.
And win again. And win again.
All right, now, like what Honorable Ratling said, he said coup d'etat twice, overthrew government twice, and still came out again to vie for presidential post. In the early 90s, he won. Does it mean that all those things that he did, according to some human rights observers, said he violated human rights in 1982, the coup he orchestrated, and of course the elimination of some politicians, 200 of them, he arrested some, executed some, but don't think that that record is like a dent in his image. When you take a look at democracy, the way it should be practiced.
You see, like I used to call him a man who came, saw, and conquered, just as you rightly saw. And you also saw the statement he made. He said, he can accept you trying to make him a Christian, but trying to Europeanize him is something he will not accept. You understand what the man, at the point in time he came in the history of this world, and it was a time the people of Ghana, they needed a change. The people needed to move forward. At that point in time, the level of corruption, and because it was two things, corruption and the government of Achipong trying to focus more on the pre-colonial,
and there was hunger.
There was hunger. And there was poverty, and the economy was very bad for these same people. And you are relying on your Western master. So, but the man felt that what is there is that we need to come out of that colonial mentality and move forward as a nation. And at that point in time, the Ghanaians were equally tired because poverty was very high. Very many of them were in Nigeria here. You remember what happened? Many of them were either as cobblers, they were doing some odd jobs, just as you have our brothers from the north everywhere. That was what you have at that point in time, because I know very well now, my home in Asaba, we have so many Ghanaians who are living as our tenants. You understand what I'm talking about? So the man came at that point in time and brought that change which the people needed, and they were very much ready to accept it, as it were. So those who were victims of, you see, the colonial masters or the Europeans or the Americans or whatever you want to go there, when it comes to the issue of saying that somebody has committed war crime, their war crime or an offense, first of all, you will look at it, what actually happened, what was in place at that point in time. Because these are the issues you look at. And then you look at the environment as it were. And then look at those who are going to raise the issues as well, whether they were better off than your country as it were. So these are the issues.
All right. Now, knowing fully that Ghana was seriously under hardship, economic depression, hunger, unemployment, do you think that that act is justifiable, Reverend?
Which act of
eliminating some, arresting some, even the act of coup d'etat, according to some crimes, that is a heinous crime.
Well, you see, the judgment of that will be reserved for God to justify, because no person has the right to take another man's life. But there are certain situations that somebody must give up something for something to survive. And that is, if you even read the scriptures, some persons have to be eliminated for there to be a moving forward. But see, my interest here is, when he eliminated those people, what was the resultant effect? Was it personal or the people? The people gained more from him than what the other people were eliminated brought. Hunger, poverty. And this is a man who, when he saw, he didn't stay long after the second coup who came into power. But when he left and he saw what the president was doing, he came back. Because there was a mismanagement of the principles that was laid. And then he came back at the second time, and then he now began to establish democracy tenets. He worked for some time, won an election. He has never, look at the history of Ghana, he has never troubled any president after him. You didn't hear him talking of anything. He can only tell you when occasion warrants of the situation that should be and what needs to be done. And that is what people talk about. We're talking about someone who is selfless in his, like I said, He didn't own mansions in Ghana. He didn't own mansions abroad. He didn't own fat bank accounts outside. He was not a wealthy man. So he didn't come to become president because he needed money. He saw there was a problem and needed to be rectified. And sometimes it takes some very brutal force to correct an idea. But when you are correcting that idea, what is the resultant effect? Unlike what you have seen in Nigeria, permit me to use that analogy. We have seen that anytime there's a coup in Nigeria, we go backwards, worse than where we began. That's not what Rawlings did. Ghana moved Ghana forward. Rawlings moved Ghana forward, and that's why till tomorrow people will still be talking about him, because that's why you need intelligence, you need ideas to run the country. You don't need brutal force. You might have used force to get an entrance, but what are you giving? The man could be seen as an intelligent individual. He wasn't just a military man. He had the knowledge. And he has other people around him who he could discuss with. And you saw most of the time, he was also being used by United Nations to facilitate peace among African countries. Yeah. That shows to you the kind of respect and the kind of things he has. I hope that the Africans will learn, because
we'll come to the lessons learned. We'll come to the lessons, but let's take a look at his life. Now, for what he said in what he said, look, a coup will not succeed unless the people sort of call for it. Now, does it mean that for what really entrenched?
But we're calling for it at the environment.
The environment and the people, are they not the same? Are they not the same? Okay, fine. Let's do that without the environment calling for it. Now, does it mean that to entrench good governance, brutal force sometimes needs to be enforced? Is that what should be the right tenets of democracy? Because that's what he used. He was brutal in that early phase of his life. Over to you, Honorable.
You know, there are times you need to make hard decisions to get things working. And you look at the situation straight on the face, and you say, look, the only way to confront this thing is frontal. You just go ahead and confront it. You know, one of us just said, each time there's a coup in Nigeria, it's 10 steps backwards. We all just said to ourselves, there used to be Ghana must go. Now Ghana is a safe haven. Nigerians go there now to look for jobs.
When they are chasing them,
I mean, Nigeria
for a shop, Nigerians are still there.
That is exploitation.
You see, Ghana that used to be, you know, a place to be that was deserted has now become a safe haven for our people. I say this to you very clearly. When it's like if you have cancer on your leg, the only way to save it is to cut your leg off. Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
To save it, you have to cut the. I tell you, you cut the leg off. There are some ailments you have to chop off that side of the body to save the other part of the body. So that's what he did. He chopped off some persons. Yes, like the pastor said, yes, vengeance of God. I don't know if it's vengeance, but judgment. But like he said, what is the resultant effect of what he did? Did he now save Ghana? The answer is yes. If his action was not agreeable to Ghanaians, he wouldn't have been able to transit from the military to the civilian, and he won election and won again and installed the president. So he won 3 times. He won 3 times. So if they didn't accept him, so it will suggest to me, and I'm sure to discerning hearts, that his action at that time was acceptable to Ghanaians. And let's say this to you. I just said now in that discussion, I have met him twice physically. And each time I met him, I saw the kind of aura around him, and the way people were feeling, the way people accepted him. So you know, in one of the messages say, an Iroko, a tree has fallen. A very big tree has fallen. So they still believe that he lives a life of service. If he didn't have bank accounts, I don't know what that one means now, but he lived a life that was simple. That was simple. You could see him, yes, maybe those things he had around him was because he was president. Otherwise, he was ready to live a life without all those things that accompany. So I like, maybe you say we shall come to the lesson later.
Yes.
But in the course of this discussion, people must live lives that we will celebrate after them. After them. Because he is, people are talking about him now. Ghanaians are mourning. I spoke with a few of my friends that are Ghanaians. They are mourning because they believe that, oh, yes, the man was 73. They thought he shouldn't have died by now. So these are issues that the man lived a life that can be talked about.
Okay. Now let's take a look at Rawlings. Before he came out to do what he did with his own officers around him to orchestrate the coup, that is somehow, not even somehow, it's treasonable offense. But it's like he was being jeered on then. So much applause, so much, cheer. Just go on, Rawlings, just do it. What makes him different from an average Ghanaian? Is this Scottish blood in him, or is just him personally, from your assessment?
From my own assessment, it is himself as an individual. Then again, you also look at his background. His background, because he had a good education. And again, from the statement he made, he said from when he was a little child, his focus was to be a pilot. So he already knew where he's going to. And he was preparing himself towards it. Even when the mother was trying to, make him discard that position to take a different one entirely. But he still remained, and he went further to go and do that. At the end of the day, he graduated. He was the best student, or the best cadet officer there, as it were. And being the best, as it were, you have friends who have the same, idea, just as he said, because he was able, while in the cadet school, was able to see among himself those who equally have seen what himself had saw. That in respect of what was going on in Ghana, that the level of poverty, the level of corruption, the high level of the leaders dancing towards their colonial master, instead of looking inwards to do a different thing entirely. Just as he said, I can allow you to Christianize me, but Europeanizing me is what I will not take.
It's like you like that comment.
Yes, I like that comment. Yes, I can decide to, because you want me to be a Christian. That's no problem. But wanting me to take everything, hooks, line, and sinker, everything about you, your custom, your tradition, and all, that is the only thing I will not take. And that is what he was actually against. So the issue of corruption, the issue of the leaders of Ghana at that point in time, dancing towards their colonial master, what things that actually himself and the few others who believed in. You remember why after the trial, he was penciled down for execution, himself and others. But they were kept in prison. It was the same set of persons again among themselves that came and removed him from prison. And that brought about the second coup, as it were, that brought him to power. Because there are people who believed in him, and they actually want to actualize that, which they know that it was for the betterment of their people as in.
All right. Now, it may just know when he was captured with his officers that really plotted the coup, he said, look, I take responsibility for this. Let my men go. If he's to face the hangman noose, I will do it alone. Some of the opinion that it's because of the Scottish blood in him, not the Ghana experiment that made him unique. Reverend, do you have a divergent view on that?
I don't want to accept
you that the African blood and the Scottish blood and making such comparison.
I've never accepted such kind of notion. There's nothing different between the Scottish blood and the Ghanaian blood. The same God that made everybody. It depends on what you choose to be and how you choose to live that life. And that's the issue of responsibility, which is demonstrated from beginning of his life. He has demonstrated leadership. He has demonstrated the fact that there is a people that can work together. When he was told, all of you face execution, he said, I'm the one in charge. Let other people go. And that's what made the military of his time go all out to make sure that he left that prison. Because they believed in him bringing Ghana to where they were going. And that and that's why some judges were also executed during that process. Because these judges sometimes kowtow to the norms of political interference. And they don't have justice. And so these are some of the things. But see, I was also looking at something that was written when he said, I think it's on the screen. He said, "Don't sing my praise, sing the Ghana." That shows to you how selfless he is. You know, he wasn't looking for accolades. He was just looking. He was just a time for him to serve the people and bring them to that point. And that's why he was also able to lead them into democracy. He knew that military may not have all it takes to govern. You need the democratic structures to effect those deliveries. Unfortunately, leadership in Africa seems not to understand that opportunity for leadership is for service and not for self-exaltation. You know, and that's the problem we are having. So he had demonstrated that, and him now and Nelson Mandela has given Africa opportunity to see how good men rules and what should be done. So we don't need the European experience. It's okay, well, let's see how the Europeans are doing. No, we have them in Africa that God has given to us to see. Let's look at it. Mandela was a selfless man. Even when he was in prison, he was talking about the freedom of his people, not about himself, you know, and that's what he did. All to this time, I was also listening to a story. He went for, when he had a problem, and he went for these hospitals in another country, I want to mention. The Ghanaian authorities refused him protocol. He has to look for a friend to drive the wife to the hospital. That shows, if you were another African person, he will come back and lead a coup. And people will just accept him, and you see there's a change in government. But he left it. You know, and believe that as a Ghanaian, he needed, as a person, he needed to live his life. If things fall in place, fine. If you don't give it to me, I'm not bothered. But let the Ghanaian people have what they need to live a life. Sure.
All right. Well, we are still going on here. So back to our normal schedule, 1 hour. Yeah, for Africa Discourse, and of course our afternoon belt program, Current Affairs, International Forum, Flipside, 60 Minutes Nigeria, and of course Business This Week. Back again to our normal schedule. Now, for what he said, he doesn't believe in whether Scottish blood or African blood. Is just the uniqueness of Jerry Rawlings. Why was it interviewed by an anchor BBC? He said he regretted one action, the execution and the burning of some judges. He said he regretted that, but that is just what was needed at a particular point in time, but with lots and lots of regret. Now, who do you think made Rawlings to really know what to tune to make Ghana revamp economically?
He had a good team. I said this in one of his books, Successes of a Leader. The people were just eulogizing him for doing X, Y, Z in Ghana. The man said, "Why will you eulogize me for doing this? It's not my money I used.
It's your money.
It's people's money. It's your money. So why will you be hailing me that I built road, I built school? It's not my money. It's your money.
It's your money.
So why will you be, singing my praise? That, oh, this guy is a fantastic head of state. He has built schools. Oh, he has built roads. They now ask them, what should we be doing? I said, oh, what should we be doing? Should we just go and sit down there and say, he said, everything I achieved as president, I used resources of Ghanaians, of Ghana. That's the kind of person my brother was talking about. That the man lived a life of service for the people. For the people. Yeah. What's democracy? By the people and for the people. For the people. But in Nigeria, it's by the people, not for the people.
No. Well, it's still for the people.
Okay, fine. It's still for the people. Okay, sorry. Two people. Okay, sorry. Okay,
for the people.
So for him, it was by the people, for the people. And he expressed that in various forms. And that's the kind of thing I expect all of us to do. The blood issue now, whether
Scottish or Ghanaian.
I says blood is red. His own blood is red. Some blood is red. No difference between no color. No the blood. No different color of blood. You were asking whether if anybody asked him to do what he did that. Those people he killed, he killed them now, he executed, he killed them. They were executed. He killed them. He said, look, I made this analogy just now. Yes. I have a friend in Australia now. He doesn't have legs anymore. But he's living. What was the matter? We went together to Australia, and he had issues in the aircraft. Before we knew it, they amputated one leg. But something they said they affected the other leg. They had to culture the leg, but the doctors just said the only thing that can keep you alive is to let those two legs go. And the man agreed. Yes. He's alive today. He's alive today. I mean, that's what he did. He allowed those people to go. Yeah, it's painful, yes. They say civil rights or human rights or whatever. The human rights people don't have a right in your country until your people protest the rights.
Exactly.
Until the people protest, nobody can come from anywhere to talk about human rights. Your people must to protest against your action. That's when you can be talking, okay, fine, you now hinge your own support on that. So for me, Ghanaians accepted what they did because he explained to them why he was going to do it. And they believed that this was necessary at this point. So for us, it was, for him, and for those of us who saw, we thought that that singular act of his, just that in Nigeria, that may not be too easy or possible. But in Ghana, the man closed his eyes, he did it, and it yielded the kind of dividend.
Okay, all right, we want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion on the life and times of Jerry Rawlings. What made him take after 210, the man just washed his hands of governors? What really made him to take that decision? Because we expected him to remain in power like others that fought for democracy or freedom of their country in some climes in Africa. They remained there till they died, while others were chased out from office. But in this case, he was just there. 2 terms, he called it a wrap, and that was it. We'll be right back after this break.
Even over.
This generation, you have responsibility to hand over a decent society to your children, because your parents handed over a respectable society. How come you are supervising a society that has no respect for the elderly? You are supervising a society that has no respect for values? What kind of the next generation of parents are we going to have? The kind of training our parents gave to us. We, these young generation parents, we have failed our society. We have failed. We have over-pampered our children, and they have gotten rotten now. They believed in that time that a good name is better than riches. But unfortunately, you, this generation, you now believe that riches is better than a good name. Where did you learn this from? Where did you get that spirit from? Where did you get this attitude from? That was not what your parents taught you. Why are you teaching your children now put money ahead of a good name? And it is because of this, corruption has eaten our society. Everybody is looking for money, regardless of where you get it and how you get it. Where did you learn these things from? This generation of people 40 years to 75, you have failed your children. You have failed your grandchildren. And it is time you rise up, correct the mess behind you before you exit this world. Your parents and my parents at that time will ensure that you go to school. They will arrange to get an extra teacher. But there is no way my parent and your parent will find a way to buy a question paper and for me to study. There is no way my parents and your parent will ever do that. But how come you have been doing that? You go behind the scene, you buy question papers for your children and they get the A+ and you celebrate them. You are teaching your children how to do evil and corrupt society. This generation is responsible for the mess we are in. Society is the product of the family. Society starts from the family, and from the family to the community, community to the larger community, and to the entire nation. So if today we say that the society is rotten, it means that the home is rotten. If we say society is corrupt, it means the home is corrupt. The problem of our country is not only because of government, but it is because we've had irresponsible parents who have destroyed the values and the foundations of our homes.
remember saying na ember month na we dey so accident not just dey happen. Na me and you na dey cause am. The one wey drivers dey cause for inside na him plenty pass. Make una drive with care. This message now from Independent Radio and Television.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. Today's peculiar. It's like everyone just want to talk about Rawlings, African reputation, and like everyone want to talk about it because they love the man so much. Let's get to hear from the very vibrant youth. God sent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Show.
My pleasure.
I appreciate your comment. Yeah, we'll be talking about Rawlings, talking about his life and times, talking about his origin, his principle in government, his achievements, and of course those things that he did to make Ghana tick, to keep Ghana in the forefront. We talk about Africa economically speaking, politically speaking, even the fight against corruption. Ghana seems to be at the forefront right now in the West African sub-region. As I'm saying, even in Africa, Ghana is standing out, and they're linking it to Jerry Rawlings. Now, do you think that all other countries in Africa should follow the footstep of Jerry Rawlings, what he did in Ghana, to cleanse Ghana, as they call it, cleansing? Do you think that other climes should follow suit?
Let me quickly say that I've been enjoying the discourse. My fathers here have done a whole lot of justice. I felt like there was really nothing more to say. Yeah. But truth be told, I respect the late Jerry Rawlings because of the way he was able to manage his reputation. You know, it is very difficult to find in Africa somebody that started out and initially was perceived as an authoritarian, you know, but later on, he was able to change the narrative. You know, at the time, when you are a public office holder, you can be rest assured that your reputation will always go both ways. But I respect him for being able to move from being a military leader to being a civilian leader, and he was able to leave his mark in the sands of times. You know, I give it to him. Reputation management is something that needs a whole lot of high skills. It is not something any person can just do. It means that the man, first of all, was well read. He knew what he was saying. He was not just quoting books that he has read. You know, he was ready for the job. And that's the reason why when you look at his lifetimes, he was one of the strongest advocates in Africa against incompetence. You know, so he was able to manage his reputation. The way he was able to go across board. And we also look at the time he came into power. Either through the military coup d'etat before he became the civilian elected president. You look at the fact that, you know, the time that a ruler or a leader comes into a position of authority are very sensitive narratives. If you are going to analyze the regime of a particular person, you know, he took over power at the time that Ghana was really facing a whole lot economically. The history has it that he was able to contribute his quota in bringing about economic stability, you know, and which is something that till date, an average Ghanaian cannot talk about the current boost they are having in their economy without making reference to the man that brought about the stability. Of course, at the time he brought about that economic stability, it was not so obvious yet. You know, there are some leaders that are like leaders that comes to clear the way, you know, and what they did then may not be so obvious. But over time, it became obvious that someone set the template or laid the foundation upon which successive government was built on. We must give it to him. Then again, let me quickly say that his gods is something to talk about. His gods. His gods is something to talk about. You know, I love people that can stand for what they believe. You know, irrespective of the fact that sometimes they could be very controversial, but they own their statements and they have their reasons, even though sometimes it does not pass public views. You know, Rawlings stood for what he believed. Like Reverend, I was hearing Reverend saying that fantastic aspect of him. He was always giving the glory to Ghana. You know, you could see a man right from when he was in prison to the coup to the civilian rule that was passionate about his nation. I will never forget that speech he gave at the second swearing in when he said that when justice is missing in the society, there will be no peace and there will be no order. And this is Africa Discourse. That is exactly one of the strongest lessons I think we should learn in Africa today. Because the narrative of the present day Africa is still the reality of the fact that there is lack of justice, fairness, truth, and equity in the system. And that was exactly what the late Rawlings stood for. That was what he personified. And it's something to talk about. We have lost an hero, we have lost a voice, we have lost a lion, and we really wish there are more, patriots across board, across the whole Africa countries that have as much passion as Rawlings had for his own country, Ghana, for their country. Then greed will be a thing of the past.
Then greed will be a thing of the past. Now, Reverend, to lessons learned, what do you think Africans should do? The countries in Africa, the heads of state, the president, should they follow the Rawlings approach? You know what he did in 1982? After giving the president power, he came back again and said, young man, you're not doing what we asked you to do under coup d'etat. Should countries in Africa imbibe his own style in leadership?
Well, I don't believe in copying. I believe that we have mastery of the things that we ought to do as individuals. It's just knowing who you are. It's knowing what you are born to be and what you're expected to be. And timing is important. And then you also know your limits, which, I said just now, he has given us a clear thought. Nelson Mandela gave us a thought. So these are two giants in Africa that have given Africans the understanding that there is nothing different from Africans and the Europeans. It's just the life that we have chosen to live. I also don't want to see what happened in the 1982 civil, where there's a cleansing. It depends, again, on how the atmosphere and how the issues come to play.
But that was a term used.
Because there are also been cleansing even in Nigeria. And I said it before. What the resultant effect of ours is that we go back instead of going forward. So you have to understand. And the people have to also note that it is not ethnic ideas, it is nationalistic ideas that saves a nation. And I think that's the problem, that's what is missing in Nigeria. We are too ethnic minded that even when we see something bad in what our Nana is doing, we don't talk about it. When we see something good in somebody, we don't want it because it's not from our family. They saw Rawlings as a man who has Ghana in his heart. And they followed him and they gave him opportunity. And when it was time for him to leave, he left. He has, like I said, he had never interfered in the elections in Ghana. He has the popularity to have interfered, but he doesn't, and he allowed things to go. But he can talk to the president if he's doing something wrong or not doing the thing they should do. You have the right to do that. But let people also do what they need to do. Don't only think that you are the only person. That's what he did. He knew that his time was there, his period was over, he left and he sat back. And that's what we should, and that's what Nelson Mandela did. He came, he knew that, okay, one term is enough for me, let me leave and get some other things. If we have that, greed, which is the obvious situation that Africans are battling with, and again, you have to be intellectually minded. Rawlings was intellectually minded. Nelson Mandela was. Most of the Africans we have, I don't know what kind of school they go to. Mugabe went to go school. Mugabe went to go school. No, you see, you can go to school and the school didn't go through you. That's the thing.
All right, thank you. Honorable, the cleansing approach said each time have its own peculiarity. Should each country in Africa, imitate Rawlings in what he did in 1982?
No, let me draw from my brother. Not imitate. Not imitate. I just said to you, if you have a cancerous foot, cut it off. I mean, you don't need to imitate. If you have this thing that is not good, it's like a tuber of yam. You hold the tuber of yam, and it is rotting away. If you leave it, it will just spoil the whole yam. So you just cut from that point. Cut it off. So you can salvage this remaining part. Otherwise, if you say, if I cut this off now, then if you just leave it, it will eat up the whole tuber of yam. At the end of the day, the yam becomes useless. So what Rawlings did, like my brother said, Rawlings will be remembered for justice. And the singer said he doesn't want any peace. All he wants is equal rights and justice. Once there is equal rights and justice, there will be peace. So if you just say, okay, let's peace, and there's no justice, there's no way you can go ahead to tell the people that, okay, let's make peace now, and you are Mr. Injustice. And the kind of cleansing my brother said, I mean, our kind of cleansing is not the kind of cleansing Rawlings had. Rawlings' cleansing was not an ethnic cleansing. In Nigeria, you just decide, okay, fine, let us face these people, and you just face them. You know, beyond that. So we don't want the kind of cleansing that we have experienced in Nigeria. If I ask now, when Rawlings did his own cleansing, there was result. Ghana must became Ghana invites you. Those days it was Ghana must go, but now Ghana invites you, because the country has assumed a different status, where the economy has, become very stable. Today, among the best universities in the world, you can quote 6 in Ghana. You can quote 6 in Ghana among the best universities in the world. I mean, hitherto, it was a country where people were now running away from. But now, you talk about those schools, and they are quoted among the best in the world. So these are issues that when you do a cleansing, what is the result of the cleansing? So if you cleanse and you think you have not achieved the desired result, then of course you have just been wicked. So for me, I expect that one lesson we must learn from the Rawlings experience is that Rawlings believed in Ghana. He believed in Ghana. He believed he was working because Ghanaians were there. He was working for his people. He was not self-centered. He was not working because he did not assume, he did not wear the toga of president. He just took off khaki and wore kente.
Kente, yeah.
And everywhere you saw him, he was wearing his kente. He used to wear this small dress. Yeah. So basically, our leaders must learn to be leading the people, and they must seem to be working for the people.
Thank you so much, Honorable. God sent you have the last line on this discussion.
Anyway, I have always said that one sad thing as a young man that breaks my heart when I see our fathers in Africa is that we seem not to learn from anything. Because there are men and women, though not perfect, but they have lived the kind of life that we can draw strong values and lessons from and use it to change our realities today. Because the average African child is asking himself or herself, what's my reality today? Let me quickly say this. One of the principles of conflict management is to investigate the root cause. You cannot really judge Rawlings by the so-called cleansing when you were not in the picture, because the different picture determines the approach. But be that as it may, in order for me to round up, there's a difference between what we call power and honor. And if you look at Africa closely, the few men that have chosen the path of power or honor against power, they lived, even in their death, they are still being celebrated. Look at the like of the late Nelson Mandela. What about this other guy, what's his name? Mahatma Gandhi was another person. But let's talk about our own year that is living today. I'm shocked, not to give him so much kudos, but do you know the honor that this man attracts today, Goodluck Jonathan? I mean, he's amazing all over the world. So Rawlings chose honor to power. The problem we have is our people are power drunk and they don't realize that the greatest thing to live for is honor.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I know we have so much to say about this man, but come on, 1 hour. Our time is up. Our time is up. Honorable, I appreciate you. Reverend, I appreciate you. God sent.
Thank you.
Do 10 minutes or 15 minutes for you to speak. At least you spoke your mind and a lot about Rawlings. Well, it may interest you to know that Rawlings was in his youthful age when he chose to turn Ghana around.
So we can do something else.
So you, as a youth, what are you doing? He was in a youthful age when he came into government. He said, look, we don't like this, it must change. Yes, he saw the clips, he saw his looks when he was younger and when he was older. During this distinct phase of life, he used it constructively to build his nation. You as a youth out there, what are you waiting for? Anyway, See you tomorrow on International Forum. God willing. Bye for now.
This is ITV. Certainly the best.